are five well-studied and scholarly reports. But in one of my past lives, I was the daughter of this woman in France, and so there may be no coincidence that her interest is involved by Kathleen McGowan, who was married for only a short time, a year or two, to Philip Coppens, one of my past life, and people in this reality, in another reality with me. He was actually in space on a board that was like you could see through it, and he had his hands on it with a couple of other men while I was speaking to one that may call in my path Jesus, who would have been a father figure on this spacecraft, but who was traveling through space and happened to be close to this planet and had from around the universes passing through and invited me up on board ship or upon this traveling vessel. I don't know if one calls it an interdimensional, but I was allowed to go on it, just like in the Bible when we're taken up. And it confirmed my belief in world religions and stories of old, all world religions, including that of St. Peter and the rock. But the main thing was the mainstay of Jesus in this time and dispensation, because I had been guided as a spiritual being through my life to not smoke, drink, drug. I'm nothing fancy. I'm just a human being, but I'm a messenger of souls and one who links people together through cyberspace and other universes, and has had divine providence bestowed upon me from here and there. It doesn't make me any different than any other individual, except the message is that we are all from above, are out there in cyberspace, just as many of us shared our life and ways of being here now in space, but having conscious thoughts and mind of the mysterious and curious of the divine creator, high level of spiritual evolution, and how we evolve from unity or infinity or that which was always there. And this, I guess one might say my father figure in the archetypes, so not to offend anyone, but as a reader, precog, an extraterrestrial believer and existence, and this reality is the fact that I charge nothing for my echo or mirror of reality to others in this love and light community. But we are all light beings, and we are all light workers, and many of us are well read and educated into the ways of the world, of the books that we so possess and so ascribe to as expecting to understand how to read. And I was fortunate enough to be born in this reality and this time to be a discoverer of the keepers of the flame and the women that come together as goddesses to celebrate their feminine, divine feminine. And my show, my radio show, is all about the ancient Cosmos Oracles coming together as a corporation, as a nonprofit in Florida, but we will honor all beings around the world, all levels of existence, and how you prefer to speak of your identity, of any culture, but as I said, warm and welcoming all worlds, all creations of unconditional love, regardless of what form you take, what sexual preference, what religious preference, whether you study it divinely, intimately, as an identity, or strictly in passing, of just knowing and accepting and being open as an entity of sounds, words, culture, and the wisdom of those who touch us and our consciousness that supersedes all other levels of the archetype that we so desire to become in material form. Now, what many of us study in the quantum science are worlds of books that have been sent into the universities around the world including theories. And I was so noted as Teresa J. Thurmond Morris as a believer of the dot theory, or that which wrote it and put it in cyberspace. And my name was mentioned in a book written in China. And I sometimes wonder, just because I was writing on the internet and my name was found, is that how we find each other freely, regardless of what country one might identify with? But most people are born to a culture of origin and a culture of origin, and that gives you your birthright on the planet in order to be identified, to be known as, to represent, and to have a story to tell. That is your story of origin, based on the fact that you are born on the planet in a human form, in your container, in your avatar. And we learn to talk freely among ourselves, even though there are many people that are curious of the world unknown for the mundanes, and then those that are curious of those that are not so known in the occult, metaphysical, unknown wisdom, are searched out. Those from the heavens came are the esoteric. So I've started looking at a way to fulfill these niche genres with others in fiction and nonfiction writing that are historical and inspirational. And this is where we are in 2021. We have graduated to another level. We say that the world is now in the fifth dimension, and that we are all here to assess and survey and become a part of each other in this field of history, encompassing the compass of morals, of ethnic origin, of servitude, and how we claim our spiritual essence among all, including scholars and warriors and leaders and mystics and all those who came before in this test of being here globally, intellectually, and otherwise logical, and even using mathematics and cryptic words of philosophy, even in music, sounds and symbols. It's all about giving and lighting up that which may be of the dark, because it all started as an equal infinity, or that which never existed, or that which everything existed, because we are all of a journey to find foremost that which we evaluate as leveling up in our intellectual and loving cosmos of the being that is all, and we connect to as the divine source. So even in science now, we know, we study spiritual science together in the Ascension Cosmos, and your messengers, your oracles, your extraterrestrials, your 5DXperiencers, your ufologists, your UAP associates, your ethnologists, historians, archaeologists, anthropologists, all those coming together. Live streaming now is a new way of being. It's not really new, but for this generation and this epoch in time, live streaming is a way to share in this reality. And we have various ways to live stream for various groups coming together, and we hope to do some live streaming. I'm making educational YouTubes now, but live streaming is very popular, and it's basically is when your streaming video is sent over the internet in real time without first being recorded and stored. So you go live like I am now in today's broadcast and video games and streams of social media, and how we live stream is very popular now. So that's how many of you are hearing me now. And I am one to tell a story of how I came and went from this planet in death and dying, past life experiences, and how I came back no matter what happened. As a child with hepatitis, and they changed my blood out with one of the first machines brought up from New Orleans to Louisiana to save my life or to clean my blood. And I guess it did, although I saw angels above, or people above, or extraterrestrials above, or those beings outside of my body, as I said, above my body. So an out-of-body experience was like live streaming to myself, one might say, for learning that I could be out of body. And with that became an easy stream of live streaming as a human creation that knew how to come in and out of my own body. And I died again when I had placenta previa. Again, blood involved blood, or that which we always thought of as the essence of life, or in the lifeblood. And placenta previa, I had fallen at one time going, I believe, teaching twirling in Houston as a spinneret, fell on my bottom derriere, and apparently that's when I tore a hole in the side of my uterus and had a slow leak, I guess, until that morning when my baby was delivered, and I was rushed to the hospital at 5 in the morning after seeing a big, large clump in the commode, calling my mother, and met her. Well, they came and got me, and they took me to the hospital, and I passed in the emergency room after my body had already been prepared for surgery, emergency surgery, but the doctor hadn't got there yet. So they had hooked my stomach and prepped me, the two nurses, and a little bitty room, and the heart monitor was hooked up to the baby I could see. So the baby's heartbeat stopped first. Unfortunately, the doctor arrived just at that time and got over my head and rushed me out into the emergency room. I asked if I was going to die, and he said, not if I can help it. But he looked right into my pupils of my eyes really close, and because he could see the life passing. You can feel it and see it, the energy. You relax, and it's very calming at that point. But I passed down into my body, and as they went down from that little room down a hallway with the lights over and pushed the doors open, and man, it was very cold in there. I remember I could still feel cold, and told me to sign some papers. And he strapped my arm to a board, taped it real quick, or striped it up with one of those, like you spraying your wrist or something, but hadn't tried to have me hold a pen. I think that was just to keep them from liability or something, because they went in and took the baby, cut me open while I had passed, but it was overhead, and I could see her being born, and watch them clean her up, and I watched the clock and saw them prick her heel and put her little foot on the ink, and then I passed and went out. I don't know what time the clock said, but I soared up to the heavens again, and that's another reason. I mean, I didn't take my body at that time, but my essence was in human form. One might say that at least personally, my opinion is that as a out-of-body experiencer, that one goes up into space traveling at a high rate of speed, and I got up to talk to people, one might say, another level of existence. Some may say angels, messengers, or that place where one might be traveling to when one leaves the planet, because I have that experience out of body. And I asked if I could return, because what would happen to my children. But I was told I would experience more pain than I've ever experienced before if I did return, which I have, because I lost parents, brother, first a brother, then parents, then another brother, then my husband, and then my child, the one who died in the beginning, January 27th, 1974. But she came back to return and had a message of hoping to help with cancer, as did my husband, who had apparently a spot on his lungs, and he died the day they punctured his lung in the hospital. And he had told me if they did, he wouldn't make it. And he lived to tell the tale afterwards. They did puncture his lung, but it filled up. Apparently the plug broke, or I guess when they make a hole incision, he had so much water and fluid, they say he died of pneumonia. But I was there with him at the end, and I passed that day too. In 2015, December 2nd, 2015, I went down to the emergency room having my process again reaffirmed to me that I can come and go